Hello from Tokyo.
Write that down, Fumi Saito.
100%. This is 100% baseless, offensive, and unfair, and so gross. I've known Rossy Ogawa for over 40 years. Look, I don't advertise myself, okay? I'm not that. But I am the top journalist in this industry over 40-year period. And Rossy and I have been friends same amount of time. If any of these, I hear things and I see things in firsthand. Okay? None of these is true. So you said this is blown out of proportion because it's not even an issue in Japan because they're laughing about it. Laughing about Kenny Omega, and now it's Tekla? Oh my gosh.
It's gotten in. It's just kind of the main story, I guess, that people are latching on.
Main story? Oh my gosh, it's not even an issue. Then I spoke with Julia a week ago that she was gonna DM Kenny. What the fuck is going on? You know, and so I did not know because there's no such issue or even a topic over here in Japan. And people do know about, it's only happened in ends in social media, little box on your cell phone or computer screen. Yeah. It's so baseless, and it's really offensive. And if you say this damage is done, no damage should be done because it's so untrue. Or because somebody, on Twitter X, called me liar, and it's like untrue and liar, and it's just like, oh my gosh, it's like I'm not offended because it's just the kid from some basement, But this you said was from blown out of proportion. I'll defend my friend. Yeah. And I can ask me anything, and you can ask me anything. Yes.
Well, the thing is,
and also, but the one more thing, I'll tell you one more time. I'm a real journalist, and I see things, hear things, witness things very firsthand. It's not some hearsay, real irresponsible hearsay, and just on the internet and like X Twitter. It's not even a real name. That's real. That's so anonymous, and it's really irresponsible. And when somebody come and say you're lying, and then they're just gonna close their account and get up, run away. I'm here to defend my friend.
It's gotten pretty out of control, I think.
Is it? Oh God.
I mean.
All right. It's any of these things. Well, it's not about Kenny, or it's not. Of course, it's not about Rossy Ogawa. It's my friend Rossy, or it's not about Kenny Omega. It's about them, people out there. It's about them, how they want to look at the world. People hear things and look at the thing and understand the way they want to understand. That's not about these people who's involved here in this topic. Baseless, totally baseless, but it's about them out there, how they look at the world. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
That's how they view the world.
I mean,
that's not how I view this world.
But that's a big part of this disconnect between the Japanese market, talking about wrestling, Japanese market and Western English-speaking market. There's a lot of ignorance on both sides. I'm saying ignorance, just lack of knowledge about certain things like culture,
Yeah, because the people out there that tweeting a lot of things and talking about things and just, will talk about this thing as if they know anything. They learned Rossy Ogawa's name just 3 months ago, when they basically fired, Bushiroad fired, or the Bushiroad announced that they're terminating Rossy's contract effective immediately. And you and I talked about that. Bushiroad executive did that to make him look bad. He was going to leave. There's a lot of things we can go into because Rossy was so fed up that he was going to leave. Then the company knew about it. Okay. Then most of the wrestlers from Stardom were going to come with Rossy, but Rossy wasn't going to ask everybody about it. The only ones that want to really leave the company and join Rossy's new company would join, which they did.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like a big split of the company, company. And also Bushiroad Stardom pays wrestler very well that you shouldn't leave. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's they're all professional wrestlers under contract, and if they want to leave. If they want to stay, they should stay. Yeah, but this thing, okay, first of all, Kenny Omega knows he's full of shit because go back and listen to the garbage. And he's saying, I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying anything. Number of times. I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying anything that I don't want lawyers barking at my door. He knows he's full of shit.
The thing is that Kenny is
What he was insinuating?
What I'm saying is he's extremely popular, and what I'm saying is even when he does say something like that, even so, I'm still getting messages from people and still reading things on the internet that people still go with whatever the story is. Even if he said, you know what I mean, blown out of proportion because him, and then what was it, the Tony Khan tweet? He said he backed up the what was it? The poaching idea, the poaching concept. That was from Tony Khan said something about Rossy poaching talent for WWE or something.
No, there's no relationship. Yeah,
that's
there's a lot of things and also that my sitting Hall of Fame induction ceremony, right, and I'm sitting right next to CM Punk. It was on the screen, right, and some basement guy, some basement critic guy thought I was Rossy, right?
Yeah.
And then see, Rossy's sitting over there. That he's WWE agent, and that Rossy's new company. It must be what the WWE funded NXT Japan, this and that. And Julia, they paid for their own airfare and then went to watch WWE. Of course, she, as a talent, she wants to go to WWE, but it has nothing to do with Rossy's launching new company this time.
Of course.
And also that a lot of things that the new Marigold company, it will be streamed under Wrestle Universe platform, and the people automatically assume, oh, that's their fund, that's their new sponsor. That the Russian new companies are under Abema money, or the cyber agent money. This and none of those are true.
No, it's not true.
It's completely independent.
When people say that, they're really wrong, because Wrestle Universe and Abema, they're not
same.
They're not the same. The budgets are different. Cyberfight is technically it's like a Japanese company. Like a lot of Japanese companies are a lot of associated businesses, but they are separate entities. Even from when it comes down to the wrestling promotions, the brands, they're all in their own world, in their own department. That's really normal, isn't it?
Yeah, well, a lot of people say a lot of things. It was probably like that, 10, 20, 30 years ago too. But now we can, read and hear this, the nonsense on the social media, that the word start walking around and it has more power to it. It's like no base. That
it's the world we're living in right now.
They can't distinguish fantasy fiction to the reality, really.
The tough part is that any argument against the story that's out there is thought to be some kind of defense of something bad that happened, instead of just saying what we know. I know it's kind of vague to put it, but it's like, I don't understand how people can jump from us talking about this to saying that we're defending Rossy, and there's like
I am defending Rossy,
but I mean,
nobody else, if nobody else is doing it, then this is our, my opportunity.
Yeah,
I
but
wasn't going to defend it because it's so baseless and this is
but
so
it's
lie. It's so false. But the ignoring will make give them credibility. That's twisted,
but
and
the
defending it would give them credibility too. So twisted.
but that's also how a lot of the people think these days that the silence is some kind of complicity in
Yeah,
it.
like giving a story credibility. Oh
No,
my gosh.
I'm saying if nobody speaks out in opposition, that means that there must be something underneath that's being hidden. Really?
Nonsense.
That's the thinking. That's the thinking.
Yeah. But like I said, it's not about the person involved. It's about them, how they look at the world. That's how they want to look at the world. The world is dirty place or something. And what about Rossy's 40-year legacy? And none of these things ever came out. And what the people's been defending him for 40 years, 45 years, 46 years to be exact. Nonsense. Did Crash Girls say anything about it? About a Bonacano era? Yeah. Arceon, and now that the Arceon's, the reunion thing that everybody came back in peace and nothing but fun memory. And what about Fuka? That the era, that the Fuka Matsuri, Fuka Festival era, Fuka brought, their unhappy, talent from actress girls too, join Russ's new group. Well, who's dirty? And nobody. I mean, just the story is dirty.
So where does this come from? What is this all about? Like, it's just like there's no confirmation on anything. It's just this constant. Well, it'll come out someday. Kind of like I don't understand
Come
what is.
out, and also I don't even want to mention Kenny Omega's name, one more
I
time
understand.
on this podcast, but we're talking about him now, so we almost have to. But he said not just in the wrestling industry, but the industry or the higher up in Japan. What are those stupid, meaningless big words? Higher up in Japan. What? Who's higher up in Japan? What's the merit of for them? Covering up something there isn't anything to cover up. Nonsense, right?
I mean, it's gotten. We're living in a world where things can all happen at the same time, and there's the truth, and then there's what people are saying, and then that the truth kind of brushes up against that, and there's this constant friction that drives me
And
insane.
also, there's like a favorite, things like they want to compare this to Johnny Kitagawa, right?
Yeah. Because that's that's what people
But
think.
Johnny Kitagawa thing has been famous, over decades.
It's also
But then again,
very
there's
different circumstances too.
and
Very
also there's so many money involved, capital and investing, like a TV station and the media and the other big, huge billions of dollars involved. That when all came out, they're part of that, conspiracy. But this is wrestling, and of course, wrestling has place in society, but in the industry and higher up, all hiding something. This is like a pretty bad, even as a conspiracy theory.
it's it's just something that you don't casually say when you're on camera, in my opinion.
And then also that all Kenny had was his friend Michael Nakazawa sitting in the background and laughing and making face like it's some kind of subliminal effect.
Well, I mean, a lot of people are the way people act online.
I do know that the people believe what they want to believe.
Well, I mean, that's another thing. The matter of the fact, a lot of Rossy stuff, it's in Japanese. A lot of people are only getting accustomed to Rossy Ogawa and Stardom pretty past couple of years, like it's new. But
he sold, Rossy sold Stardom Company back in 2019, and it's been 4 years. And the last 2 years or so, he's so fed up that he's been overruled, and it was basically like when Rossy sold the company to Bushiroad's structure, and the new executive and the president and vice president came in, and it was going to be that the business portion of Stardom will be handled by Bushiroad, but the wrestling portion, meaning creative, booking, up and down, and storyline, all the creative calendar year thing, it was going to be Rossy. Then they turn around and start calling it creativity. And like if you remember, like a showcase show,
with
all the death match with no meaning,
yeah,
and new blood, that all younger talent show,
yeah,
and like really ignore the wrestling wrestling 101 method, that the babyface and heels don't come out together smiling. You know what I'm saying? With Rossy's old fashioned structure, none of those would have happened. But then again, Rossy got so sick of being overruled, and by overruled, but he was a creative executive producer being paid, being under salary. So he was gonna say, all right, well, it's like, well, I have no power anymore, right? Then it's like, but this is going to be really bad. The more you let it happen, the worse it gets. So he decided to leave, completely leave and start new company. And Bushiroad people knew about that too, because Rossy told them. And when they found out some of these girls are leaving with Rossy, that's when they wanted to make it public that we are firing him. That's when English-speaking literature came out that, when Rossy was fired, that's when a lot of English-speaking fans learned Rossy's name for the first time. Just 3 months ago. But if you know anything at all about his legacy, you have to go back past 40 years. All Japan Women's, the All Japan Women's Jackie Sato era to Jaguar Yokota Devil Masami era to Crash Girls era to Bo Nakano era into interpromotional 90s wrestling boom. Rossy created it. The All Japan Women, JWP, LLPW, FMW Women's Division, all together in the package, because that the inner promotion business has to be win-win situation, and that's why that the All Japan Women sent top talent to FMW show, JWP show, LLPW show. They got the big shows too. Then at the end, 1994, November, Tokyo Dome at the end, But the Tokyo Dome was success, but that was the beginning of the end too, that the business starts sliding. But they were still running 4 sumo palaces a year, and then 2 Budokans a year, and Yokohama Bunka, the Kawasaki gym, they were still running, good, healthy business, and like a 15, 20 Korakuen Hall a year. But the business was going down. In 1997, Rossy left the company, All Japan Women, to create RCM, and that lasted 5 years. Then at the end of RCM, the new money, the backer came in and made a new company called A to Z, if you remember. Then after A to Z went down, that the Rossy was running Fuka Festival. And then Fuka Festival was a very small portion of the show, but it was good enough for Fuka and Fuka's people, friends, and Rossy to make a living off that. And Fuka started training her friends, 8-10 of them, all ready to debut. Then I'm talking about like 11 years ago, 12 years ago, that Fuka told Rossy to come to Shinkiba. We're training girls, right? Then when Rossy went to see this, wow, these girls are ready to debut, and you have to create a place for these, rookie to perform. Therefore, he wasn't going to, but he started a new company called Stardom, and the rest of the story.
Yeah, we've talked
became
about
very
it.
popular company. And none of these story thing was involved in this. None.
It was completely.
Then people don't know how creative he is.
There was so much more going on. I mean, this is something that I've thought about a lot for the past 2 weeks, and it's still really hard to
Who ran this creative thing in women's wrestling for the past 40 years? Yeah. These, like social media, this, like you said, blown out of proportion. They only know Rossy's name for the past 3 months. That's it. And didn't even bother going to all the Joshi Pro Wrestling history. At least go back at least 30 years.
Why are people trying to cut him down?
Yeah, because he's successful.
It's
And I do know two things that if somebody wanna insinuate something real dirty, like sexual predator, this sexual predator, always sexual predator. They just don't start, right? You don't start just today or yesterday. It's always been. And none of these things, is true. And that would come out in Japanese media if there's anything to it. If there was a falling out, yes, there was a falling out between, say, Rossy and Aja Khan. They had the court case, and probably still have blood, and they haven't talked, There's a here and there, there's a falling out,
or what about with Kana, with Asuka?
See, Kana mentioned things like the company Stardom was created to defeat her,
destroy her.
None of that is true. I just told you how Stardom started, but there was a falling out that she debuted with A to Z, right? Yeah, that was a company that didn't make, and Rossy was part of it because end of the RCM became A to Z with new money. Basic same structure, but with new name and started new. That's why Rossy had to file bankruptcy. It wasn't, like fun memory, and I don't think they are friends. And during WrestleMania weekend, Rossy was there, Julia was there, I saw they're there, and of course, the Asuka was there. I don't think they even talked while they were in the same building. But those things. And there's a couple things that people have falling out. You had bad relationship. I had bad relationship. It's not always perfect, but you can't take his accomplishment and legacy away from him based on some things really untrue. And when you say, when you say baseless, the word baseless doesn't even work anymore because, Vince McMahon's lawyer say the accusation is so baseless, right?
Yeah.
So the word baseless became dirty too. Yeah. So I don't know. You give me the word.
You got me. I don't know. It's people are really quick to believe things and not investigate for themselves. It's hard. There's so much being thrown at us every minute, especially through social media. But
and then they're like much younger than we are, right?
I imagine. But I don't know. But it's also they're not just from the States. They're from Europe, or they're from or Commonwealth countries, or Europe, or
But if they don't want to, support Marigold, that's their choice.
Sure,
they will be popular.
Did you happen to see the debut match last night at WrestleMagic? Marigold.
Oh, that's
kind of preview.
They're Marigold wrestlers, but they're not debut the grand opening.
No,
card.
That's on May 20th.
Yeah.
But they were all there last night. Rossy Ogawa brought them out in the jerseys with the numbers. Yeah,
and also Marigold is going back to the wrestling tradition. Marigold.
That's what I felt last night. That is,
because they're taking this all Japan women's old method, the training method, and developing a new character, not a character, but developing a rookie. They're going through, dojo style rookie training, and it's not like taking talents from Stardom. Rossy, for this is his final challenge in this business, that he wants to have their own roster of talent. Yeah, maybe 2 years from now, you have all these new stars that we don't even know yet. Yeah.
Yeah.
And some, like a great coach like Nanae Takahashi would be doing the All Japan Women type, training. And two daughters of former superstar will be debuting too.
Oh, who's that?
They haven't announced it, so I shouldn't say it. But if you remember Minoru Tanaka and Yumi Fukawa's daughter,
Yeah.
yeah,
She's been wrestling on the indie
on Wave,
wave,
but
and
she herself wanted to come, and then Wave, Gami, and Rossy's Marigold met, and they're coming out with solution, and yeah, and they haven't announced it, but the former Arceon star, her daughter will be starting, and it won't be announced until July, so I can't, but these are the legacy. I'm telling you that the wrestler from a previous generation and their daughters, very trusting, want to start with Rossy. What does that tell you? And
exactly.
I've seen the parents of current Stardom superstars at the end, like December end of the year party, like Stardom
Bonenkai
wrestlers
party.
are so like relatively young, like so much younger than we are, that I am, that they have parents,
Yeah.
parents of wrestlers are always at the show, and end of the year, all the family come to the show, come to this end of the year Bonenkai type of party. I talked to them and I witnessed in my own eyes, and this is my firsthand information, that the parents of Stardom wrestler trust Rossy like a school principal. Is that dirty?
You mentioned that, yeah.
Yeah.
That's I hear completely different sides of
Yeah, because it's talked about by somebody who doesn't even know first thing about him.
that, and just why it's just so ugly. It's
Because
really
they
nasty.
want to make some. It's a world, right? And also that it's like I'm pretty sure with this podcast today I'll be making new enemies or something, but about the business between AEW and Stardom that didn't go well, that like Stardom asking each wrestler $30,000 for one appearance and sending 5 wrestlers, so that would be 150,000 a night, right? And AEW said, ain't doing that, right? But it wasn't even, they automatically assumed it was Rossy asking. It wasn't even Rossy. It was a President Harada who got kicked out, after that. But the Bushiroad executive, I mean, didn't know much about business, but AEW, that company has money, right? Let's ask them. So $30,000 each for like 5 talents. So that would be $150,000 service for one night, right? For AEW pay-per-view or something. It's like then AEW side automatically assumed that it was Rossy doing it. It's like, Rossy wasn't even involved for the past 2 years in that business end of the company. Yeah. Rossi is there at the card, but he's like everything he trying to do or come up with the ideas being overruled by the Bushiroad executive. He got so sick of it. Gotta leave. Because women's wrestling is the thing, is the business and the industry in his life for the past 45 years, 46 years. That if he was ever dirty about anything personally, behind the door, all these things come out in within industry too. And I'm the one who hear things and see things firsthand.
I know it's almost like it's not good enough anymore. Firsthand experience.
Yeah.
Well, I think we should move on to another topic because I think you put that to bed. It's just
it's but then again, if it keeps going, I have to come back and defend my friend. Yeah.
Well, I hope.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, yeah, I stopped at the Rossi's house a week ago, last Sunday. I did interview with Julia. It was for the program, the pamphlet program that sells at the show. It was for Hana Kimura's May 23rd Korakuen show program. That when you turn front page, that it would be a Julia interview. She would be working Hana Kimura's memorial show. The Julia against Vinny single match for the first time ever. They're not even friends. They know each, they know of them. Julia know of Vinny and Vinny know of Julia. It was actually Hana Kimura. Hana Kimura was friends with Vinny. Hana Kimura was friend with Julia. Therefore, by having Hana Kimura right in the middle, this single match takes place for the first time. Yeah. And Julia wanted Hana to watch this match and wanted to make this match as exciting, and the exciting match where Hana would be watching, and she want Hana to get excited about the match. Does that make sense? Yeah.
And it's
And also about somebody calling me a liar on X Twitter about Stardom not allowing Stardom wrestler to work Hana Kimura show, and Fumi's lying that the Shuri has been working for the past 3 years. It's not written in the contract that the Stardom wrestler under contract cannot work for Hana Kimura's show or the associated with Kyoko or Kimura, stuff like that. It's not. They don't understand the first thing about wrestlers' mindset. It's not about. Of course, it's under contract. You won't be working in another company. I understand that, but Hana Kimura's memorial show is not done by a wrestling company. It's done by
it's like a
the tie of the friend.
Yeah, the friends of the family, and it's like a community event almost.
Yeah, it is. They sell ticket, of course. They have to rent the Korakuen Hall, and they will be filming, videotaping the show, of course, and hopefully streaming to like a Fight TV or something like that, But it's not to be considered as business. If it's business, it is to raise fund for the court case. But yes, basically, but somebody calling me liar, so I have to explain it. So it's not about the Stardom's wrestlers contract that they cannot work with. It's like Bushiroad Stardom executive telling their wrestlers don't work the show, and somebody like Shuri said, "Oh, I'll be working." And it's a wrestler's mindset. This is important personal business to be working Hana's show. Okay. All right. If you're going to work, what are you going to do about it? Fire me or sue me? And are they going to do something about it? They wouldn't. And yes, Shuri's actually a couple other current Stardom girls working this year's Hana Kimura's show. And I don't have to lie anything about this, Hana Kimura's show. I'll be doing the color commentating this year too. 2021, Matane, Hana Kimura card. 22, that Matane and Bagus. And last year was Pinks, and this year was Telemakashi, like an Indonesian word for saying thank you very much. And I'll be I've been pretty involved with this, the whole Hana Kimura thing. And it's not like some new company running a show against opposition of some existing wrestling company. It's not that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's because the playing field in Japan is different. It's a lot different than over in the States. And I guess it's more taboo or fans like to think it's more taboo when one wrestler's under contract and works somewhere else, and they think that leads.
Yeah, I'm trying to explain instead of and says Fumi's mistaken and untrue and called it a lie. It's like, I read it.
I don't understand why people would even say it.
Because they're typing this thing from their basement.
But why wouldn't they? They have no reason not to believe.
They could have called me inaccurate,
sure,
but untrue. If you untrue to me, that's like an end of a love story, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and calling somebody a liar, I mean, he should have something concrete to back that statement up.
Yeah, people say things without thinking about any consequences or there's so much to it, and I just don't want to go down the rabbit hole. And
Yeah, but yes, that Hana Kimura's memorial card, Telemakashi coming up. Yes.
Yeah, at the end of the month, right?
Yeah, and I did the interview with Julia, and it would be in the first page of this program. Yeah,
nice.
And they were, and Julia was laughing, about this Kenny statement.
Yeah, it's a non-issue in Japan. So
the Rossy said, "What about it?" It's like he just heard about it. He just heard about it. It's like, oh yeah,
it's the flow of the English language wrestling news media too. I mean, the stories dictate the discussions.
Yeah, and then also these new generations, this social media wrestling journalism think Dave Meltzer's accomplishments is only a star system, right? Of the match. Yeah, no. Dave Meltzer have done so much I can't even start.
He's been doing it since before I was
born. Single-handedly changed or non-existing wrestling media, I mean journalism, that it was all, like newsstand wrestling magazine. I'm not gonna badmouth all, like Wrestling Illustrated, the Inside Wrestling, the Wrestling Review, all these people before me. It was magazine, but it was never reported like Dave Meltzer's Wrestling Observer.
Like
he
real
came
news.
out. Yeah, and then so much influence. And people don't remember, but in 90s, there was a lot of almost mock, like a wannabe Dave Meltzer newsletter, dozens of them out there, but none of them survived because none of those, short-lived newsletters were as enthusiastic or well-connected or knowledgeable as Dave was. They always has been. And this is what Dave Meltzer does, and he is the best wrestling journalist. Yes. And he and I, he's a couple years older than I am, but of course we're getting older, and sometimes it's hard to watch wrestling like that are really new companies, and sometimes it's hard to watch wrestlers match that are like 30 years younger than we are, but stars, point system is the only thing that they've created so wrong. And at the same time, there's not so many, but the good amount of people who want to discredit Dave and discredit Dave's accomplishment out there.
The star thing had been around forever. It was never a big deal until the internet came about. It was always, like everybody has their own rating system.
It goes both ways, that the wrestlers cared about it. He put on such a great match and I only got the 2 stars, something like that, because it's valuable.
Sure.
And also it survived this print version of Observer into the net, internet version of Wrestling Observer. It survived the change of time, and now that they no longer produce paper version of Observer, I missed it, but that's the way it is,
Yeah.
And pretty soon, my old Weekly Pro Wrestling, I wouldn't be surprised if the paper version of physical magazine will go out of business and it will all be digital.
It keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller.
Yeah, because you can't buy at the 7-Elevens anymore.
Yeah, it's harder to find. You have to go to a bookstore. You have to go. They don't sell it at.
Yeah, and none of these people I worked with in the 80s and 90s into 2000, and I was there until 2014, 10 years ago. It's been 10 years since I quit, but none of the editors or writers or photographers or designers are there anymore. It's all new people. And this past January January 4th at the Tokyo Dome, the press room, and I got introduced to, somebody I knew from the baseball magazine and Weekly Pro Wrestling. Hey, hi, nice to meet you. It's like all these new writers and editors of the current staff. I did not know a whole lot of them. It's like, it's like, I just met 5 new editors that they've been working for 5 years, but they're not the same guys anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, Tarzan Yamamoto, my old boss, he's 78.
Wow.
Yeah. And none of the people I worked with in 70s and 80s and 90s and 2000 are there.
Yeah. New generation.
And plus, my generation's people, sometimes it's like that when this used to be typewriter and word processor, right? And you fax your story, then somebody has to type it to make it print, and all these the current writers and editors and designers, they debuted on computer keyboard and internet articles, and there was a lot of hurdles, like hurdles and bars to climb over to clear that what you wrote became print.
Yeah. I mean,
it's read important by your editor right next to you, and then the junior editor, senior editor, and your boss editor, and it'll be changed and proofread, and you got to change this and write this and write that and erase this. And you'll be writing the same story twice, 3 times until what you wrote became print.
Mm-hmm.
Now that you write with this thing and just kind of it goes up there.
The workflow is similar, but it's so much faster because it's all, like you said, it's all digital.
Yeah, but at the same time, it became very inaccurate and immature.
Because the emphasis is on speed, not accuracy as much.
Yeah, and also because of it, putting match result isn't a part of magazine anymore. It should come out tonight. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what would wrestling magazine role be? Yeah. It would be more like your program you'll be buying at the building.
Or like
the wrestlers' interviews. Yeah, wrestlers' interview instead of like a real interview I've done.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I don't advertise myself, but I've done actual real physical interviews from Luthez, Carl Gotch, Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, Stan Hansen, Bruiser Brody, Abdullah the Butcher, Tiger Jit-Singh, Road Warriors, all the way to AJ Styles, everybody in between. I was there firsthand. I did not read some other people's interview and pretend that I know something and type up your own story and stealing material from here and there. None of that was done. When we were doing weekly pro wrestling, we did it like a real magazine.
Mm-hmm. And they were huge back then. People don't realize.
But the role has changed. Yeah, but it's I don't have to talk about my accomplishment, and it's not me. It's not me. And if you wanted to have another topic, let's go and move on.
Well, I think if people have questions, of course they can email us. But that's the story with Mr. Ogawa for now.
Yeah, but I do support and defend my friend. He's been my friend 40 plus years. Yeah.
Now,
and he's not dirty.
Of course not.
Yeah.
So
Harold Sakata?
Harold Sakata, yes.
Yeah, Harold Sakata. Yeah. Harold Sakata is a Hawaiian American, and American, Japanese American.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That went to 1948 London Olympic for powerlifting and debuted as a wrestler after being coached by Oki Shikina, and debuted around 1950. And from Hawaii to mainland America, then he became Tash Togo, made a very successful heel tag team with Great Togo and Tash Togo brothers, not a real brothers, but they were a huge hit. And also 1962, Harold Sakata was part of the James Bond movie Goldfinger as Odd Job. Yeah. And also he's worked many years in Japan too. And the very beginning of 1972, Antonio Inoki's in New Japan. He came back one more time to run a tour. Yeah. And that's the Odd Job, Tash Togo, Harold Sakata. And also when Ricky Dawson turned professional wrestler, the myth was created that Harold Sakata and Rikidozan met at the nightclub and got in a fight. That's how Rikidozan started in professional wrestling. It's a myth, but a lot of people do believe that, like legend. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that they did meet. Harold Sakata and Rikidozan did meet, and became friends at some Ginza nightclub or something, but they did not get in the fight. And it wasn't the reason Rikidozan turned professional wrestling. If the story was true, that the Rikidozan had to decide to become professional wrestler over one night. No. It was basically, it was after 1 year after his sumo retirement from sumo. And sumo means wrestling, by the way, and it was actually, there was a GHQ influence on it.
Okay.
GHQ. General headquarters. Yeah, there was the people don't go back that far. There was a war,
Right.
between 1941 and 1945, part of the World War II. But actually, U.S., America, and Japan fought the war of all places. I'm glad we're friends,
Mm-hmm.
But there was Pearl Harbor, December of 1941, and there was Nagasaki and Hiroshima in summer of 1945. And there was a 6-year occupation, U.S. occupation in Japan by General Headquarters, GHQ, we call it. And 1951 San Francisco peace meeting was signed, and the war was officially over 6 years after. 1951, the war was actually over, and Japan became independent and freedom and democracy and equality, new constitution, the whole thing. That Japan became independent once again, 1951. That was the year that the GHQ had a tribute to the troops wrestling, show in Japan.
Support, yeah,
that Bobby Brown's,
mm-hmm.
and that had the boxing champion and all that in the tune. And actually, by 1951, U.S. already was involved in another war,
mm-hmm.
Korean War this time. Yeah. That the Soviet and China supported North Korean part, and U.S. and United Nations supported the South Korea part. That Korea became one. There was one Korea, but the Korea became two separate countries. North Korea, therefore, North Korea and South Korea, 1948. So there's a real actual history you have to learn. And 1951, wrestling came to Japan, and it's almost like a planted that after the war, New Japan, not the wrestling New Japan, but the country New Japan. It was Japan, not Imperial Japan. Yeah, not Imperial Japan. Mm-hmm. And democracy, freedom of speech, new constitution, and basically became part of the U.S. sort of, but you big ally with the U.S. That's when American style professional wrestling was brought in, and they wanted to have local hero, professional wrestler, meant sumo wrestler. Rikidozan was a perfect guy to have that role. Yeah. And the rest of the story. Rikidozan is a father of pro wrestling in Japan. And much like your Gorgeous George phenomena, Rikidozan, professional wrestling, in Japanese, pro wrestling, right? Beginning of pro wrestling was the beginning of television. And beginning of television was beginning of pro wrestling. Therefore, Japan's professional wrestling always had the mega network budget. So they always had this very distinctive, unique evolution process. Never had a local territories like that. So always national product with network television budget. And that's the thing. That's Harold Sakata was involved in the very beginning. Yeah. He was part of the Bobby Brown's crew.
Yeah. It's very important, but I think in the end, most people know him for Odd Job.
Odd Job, yeah. Because it won't happen until like 1962 or 63, and that James Bond wasn't what's the current guy?
Daniel, oh my gosh.
Yeah, not even Timothy Dalton anymore. No,
oh my God,
not Pierce Brosnan. And my favorite James Bond was Roger Moore, but this Goldfinger James Bond was Sean Connery.
Oh yeah, of course, Sean Connery, the classic. Yeah.
The original James. So actually, Odd Job Harold Sakata played part in pretty big part in James Bond Goldfinger movie.
Mm-hmm.
It was a big. I'm pretty sure it was a real big thing at the time. And the Japanese yen is so weak, and the Japanese economy is so bad. But we are right now still in the middle of Golden Week holidays, and people taking a week off. And probably most people in the States or English-speaking world don't know anything at all about Golden Week in Japan. And that's end of the April into first week of May. That accumulation of bunch of small national holidays that make up the Golden Week holiday. And I'm on my Sunday afternoon time right now, and people will be taking day off until tomorrow, May 6th, then go back Tuesday. Yeah.
Everybody's really sad this week. The post Golden Week back to work blues. Really depressed that they had a great Golden Week. I remember that.
And the economy is bad in Japan, but the weather has been pretty good,
good.
in Tokyo. Yeah, like almost like early summer. Yeah.
But next month should be rainy.
Yeah, but the summer in Japan is like a last 5 years or so, way too hot and way too sticky. It'll be like a real tough summer.
Brutal.
Yeah.
That's why
brutal.
The G1 and N1, those guys they're tough to do that just because it's
so
hot during those tournaments.
Yeah, and humidity kills.
Maybe they should do it in the winter time. I don't know. Maybe they should do it at Tokyo. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, whatever. Yeah.
Okay. Just regular Fumi Saito on Facebook and X Twitter at Fumihiko Dayo, FUMIHIKODAYO, Fumihiko Dayo on X Twitter, or Fumi Saito no space 2001 on Instagram.
On X, I'm at Justin M. Knipper, KNIPPER. Send a message, just be nice.
Questions,
comments, concerns.
And I'll do my thing. Until then, so long from Tokyo.
Write that down, Fumi Saito.